everybody, welcome to Julia at Home. I'm Julia. I'm trying a new angle in the library today, so you'll have to let me know what you think. Today's video is about doing a mini unit on germs. So I actually decided to do this unit because I need something specific for health. In our state, they require us to teach health. And we did do, our science this year included the human body, so I did note that. But I decided we'd just do a little mini germ unit, mainly because I saw these awesome books from Usborne, so I picked them up. And I'm just going to jump right in. So this is What Are Germs? It's a lift the flap, very first questions and answer book. So it's really simple. It's, flaps. And yeah, it's really an introduction to germs. So that's it's more for the younger kids. It gives you some information, but it's very, very simple. But I really liked this one. This is See Inside Germs. And so it's also an Usborne Lift the Flap book, but it's for older kids. And it has so much information here. So what are germs? So it talks about the different kinds. So there's bacteria, viruses, fungi. And we call them all germs. Protozoa. Did I say viruses? I said viruses. Yeah. So, and it goes through each of those in more detail. There's good and bad bacteria. So we got to talk about how yeast is a bacteria, viruses and protozoa, fungi, which obviously is mold is a fungi. Talks about spreading germs, natural defenses, which fit in well with, we talked about some of this stuff when we learned about the human body, but this was a little more specific and in depth. Vaccines, antibiotics, superbugs, and microbe heroes. So I really enjoyed this one. So we read through it. I think it was over the course of 2 to 3 weeks. We just read a couple pages a day, and went from there. This unit, I have a few more things I'm going to share with you, but it's definitely a small unit. So I also picked up this book, A Germ's Journey. This is not Usborne. And it's just how a germ travels from one person to then making another person sick and how it spreads. The journey diagram at the end. So yeah, that just made me want to wipe down all the surfaces. As did just this whole study in general, my electronics and light switches and doorknobs. I was need to disinfect all of things. Okay. In conjunction with those things, we did a couple experiments, but both experiments were actually paired with a Zoe and Sassafras book. So if you don't know the Zoe and Sassafras series, you should, because they are fantastic. Zoe, this is Zoe here, and Sassafras is the cat who's hiding in this one. And they're just, my daughter is in 2nd grade and she could read these on her own, but I'm not sure what grade. She's pretty advanced and I'm not sure what the grade levels are for reading. So I'll just give you a peek there so you can kind of see. So there's short chapters. There are some pictures, but not a lot. So yeah, again, the reading levels confuse me, so I don't know what to tell you as far as that, but you can use your own judgment for your kids. She's read them all, and I've also read them all to them, and we've enjoyed them so much she doesn't mind. She doesn't mind if I reread them as well. Well, first of all, let me start with this one. This one is Zoe and Sassafras Monsters and Mold. It's number 2. So this might have been it was at least our second, might have been our third time reading through it actually, but we did an experiment along with it this time. Now, one of the things I really like about this book, about this series, is that Zoe's mom is a scientist, and so she encourages her to use the scientific method. So she has to write down her procedure and hypothesis and the results and everything in her science notebook. And so as we did our experiments, we also wrote down our procedures and hypothesis and such. So the first experiment we did was about mold and bread and hand washing. And I had seen this and I thought this was such a cool idea. So the idea is you have bread, and one piece of bread everybody touches without washing their hands. So this is after you've been playing or running around or whatever. Everybody touches it and gets your germies all over the bread. And then you put that one in a plastic bag. The next, and then I had one control one that I used a paper towel to pick it up from first bag and stick it in the plastic baggie. And then we did one, we all washed our hands good with soap and water. And then we all touched it and put it in a plastic baggie. And then I gave the kids like a choice of what they want to do with it. And I think they wiped it on the toilet because they're kids and they're just going to pick the grossest thing they can think of. So we had all those. We had them in their little Ziploc baggies and put them out. And we waited. And we watched for mold. And we waited some more. And I left them up for a month and they just dried out and did not get any mold. So I think number one, my first problem was I used cheap bread. I think if I had used like my homemade bread, I think it probably would have molded faster. And then I have a little toddler staring at me. You want to sit with me? Come here. Okay. And get toddler. Hello. Say hello. Okay, so I'm talking about the mold bread experiment. I think my second grade daughter also suggested that perhaps if it had been wet, the bread had been like damp, then there would probably have been more mold. And that's a good observation. Ooh, that's something we learned from the book here, that things that are damp tend to mold more. All right, what are you getting into? I'm going to pause for a second. The other book is called Unicorns and Germs. It's book 6. And this is dealing with an infection. And one of the things that she does in that book is she experiments with agar, with different things. And I think when we first got this series, this might have actually been the first book that my daughter got and had read to her. And she, hi baby, and she immediately asked for an agar bacteria experiment kit. And so as part of this study, I got her one. I got all of us one, we all used it. And we went ahead and we, after reading this book, because it actually did have some good tips for us, I got it from, I want to say it's Home Science Tools. I'll have it linked below. That may or may not be correct. So I got their kit. It has instructions for different experiments you can do and everything. And we just went around, used their swabs and swabbed different things around the house. And also different body parts of ours. So, like, I think I did my mouth, and my daughter did her feet, and I think my son did his nose. Because, again, gross things. And we did my computer and my husband's computer, and just, yeah, various things around the house. I think the toilet was on again. And we labeled them and everything, and then we set them aside for a while. And those, we did get things on. So, we then had to record what we saw on each of them. Again, it was gross, but it was actually a really great and fun experiment. So there you go. If you have kids that like science, I recommend it. And I also recommend this series. I almost forgot to mention, I did have my kids do some journaling in our nature journals about germs as well. They got to choose, and apparently I failed to label or have her label it, so it's a little hard to know what these are right now, but I'm pretty sure these are like stages of mold in different fruits there. This might be a virus. I'm not entirely sure. So that is, I did have the nature journal it, but apparently it was not on top of the labeling. That was our mini germ unit. Just a few books. I think this one was my favorite. As far as the first 3 I mentioned. This is great kind of like as a spine because it talks about the different kinds of germs, the different categories of germs, I guess, and then goes through each of those. So you could then do more on each of those things, like expand on bacteria, expand on viruses and such. And then the Zoe and Sassafras books, which these are the 2 that were related to this. We have all 8, and there's all different kinds of science things in there. So check those out. Of course, I didn't focus on COVID at all with this, even though it's a virus. We mentioned it. My kids are aware of what's going on. But you could bring that more into it as well if you wanted to talk about the virus and how it works, and or the vaccines. And we did this before the vaccines came out. So there's a section on vaccines in this germ book and how it works in general, but I didn't go into it as much as part of the unit, but it's another, in our current, as I'm currently filming, it's another thing you could talk about. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, I hope you are all well. I'll talk to you later.